Hi, and welcome back to Anna and Sigmund Present, where we examine the lives and crimes of notorious killers from around the world. Some you may have heard of, others will be new to you. Either way, we'll be delving into dark and disturbing worlds not for the faint of heart.
Today on the channel, we'll be examining the case of the backpacker murders in Belanglo State Park in southeastern Australia in the early to mid-1990s. These murders were immortalised in typical Hollywood fashion in the movies Wolf Creek, about two British hitchhikers, and in Wolf Creek 2, about two German hitchhikers. While the movies were pretty extreme on the gore side, we recommend them. They're lots of fun. Anyways, let's get to it. This is the story of Ivan Milat. Up until the mid-1990s, hitchhiking in Australia was viewed as safe, adventurous, and a cheap means of travel, unlike North America, where the practice was discouraged. However, rising unsolved Australian missing person cases led those who still hitchhiked to begin to travel in pairs for safety.
By the time of the first Belanglo State Forest discoveries, several other backpackers had also disappeared. One case involved a young Victorian couple, Deborah Everest, 19, and James Gibson, 19, who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Confest, similar to Burning Man in the United States, near Albury on the 30th of December, 1989. Another case related to Simone Schmidl, 21, from Germany, who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Melbourne on the 20th of January, 1991. Similarly, a German couple, Gabor Neugebauer and Anja Habschied, had disappeared after leaving King's Cross Hostel for Madura on the 26th of December, 1991. Another involved missing British backpackers Caroline Clark, 21, and Joanne Walters, 22, who were last seen in King's Cross on the 18th of April, 1992.
On the 19th of September of 1992, two runners discovered a concealed corpse while orienteering in Belanglo. The following morning, police discovered a second body 30 meters from the first. Police quickly confirmed, via dental records, that the bodies were those of Clark and Walters. Walters had been stabbed 14 times, 4 times in the chest, once in the neck, and 9 times in the back, which would have paralyzed her. Clark had been shot 10 times in the head at the burial site, and the police believed she had been used as target practice. After a thorough search of the forest, investigators ruled out the possibility of further discoveries within the state forest.
In October 1993, a local man searching for firewood discovered bones in a particularly remote section of the forest. He returned with police to the scene, where 2 bodies were quickly discovered and later identified as Gibson and Everest. Gibson's skeleton, found in a fetal position, showed 8 stab wounds. A large knife had cut through his upper spine, causing paralysis, and stab wounds to his back and chest would have punctured his heart and lungs. Everest had been savagely beaten. Her skull was fractured in 2 places, her jaw was broken, and there were knife marks on her forehead. She had been stabbed once in the back. The presence of Gibson's body in Belanglo puzzled investigators, as his camera had previously been discovered on the 31st of December, and his backpack later on 19th of March 1990 by the side of the road at Galston Gorge in northern Sydney suburbs, over 120 kilometers to the north.
On the 1st of November of 1993, a skeleton was found in a clearing along a fire trail in the forest during a police sweep. It was later identified that of Schmidl and bore at least 8 stab wounds. 2 had severed her spine, and the others would have punctured her heart and lungs. Clothing found at the scene was not Schmidl's, but matched that of another missing backpacker, Habschied. The bodies of Habschied and Neugebauer were then found in a nearby fire trail on the 4th of November, 1993. In shallow graves, 50 meters apart, Habschied had been decapitated, and despite an extensive search, her skull was never found. Neugebauer had been shot in the head 6 times. There was evidence that some of the victims did not die instantly from their injuries. There were similar aspects to all the murders. Each of the bodies had been dumped in remote bushland and covered by a pyramid of sticks and ferns. Forensic study determined that each had suffered multiple stab wounds to the torso, and many had showed signs of sexual assault. The killer, probably a local with a 4-wheel drive, had evidently restrained and spent considerable time with the victims both during and after the murders. As campsites were discovered close to the location of each body. Matching .22 caliber bullets, shell casings, and cartridge boxes from 2 weapons also linked to the crime scene. Speculation arose that the crimes were the work of several killers, given that most of the victims had been attacked while as pairs, had been killed in different ways, and had been buried separately.
On the 13th of November 1993, police received a call from Paul Onions, 24, in the UK. On the 25th of January 1990, Onions had been backpacking in Australia and had accepted a ride south from a man known only as Bill. South of the town of Mittagong, and less than 1 kilometer from Belanglo State Forest, Bill stopped and pulled out a revolver and some ropes, stating it was a robbery. At which point, Onions managed to flee while Bill pursued and shot at him. Onions flagged down Joanne Barry, a passing motorist, and together they sped off and described the assailant and his vehicle to the Borough Police. On the 13th of April 1994, detectives re-found the note regarding Onions' call and sought the original report from Borough Police, but it was missing. Fortunately, a constable had recorded details in her notebook. Onions' statement was corroborated by Barry, who had also contacted the investigation team, along with the girlfriend of a man who worked with Milat, who thought he should be questioned over the case.
On the 26th of February, 1994, police surveillance of the Milat house began. Police learned that Milat had recently sold his silver Nissan Patrol 4-wheel drive shortly after the discovery of the bodies of Clark and Walters. Police also confirmed that Milat had not been working on any of the days of the attacks, and acquaintances had also told police about Milat's obsession with weapons. Milat's brother, Bill, who often had his identity used by his brother for work or vehicle registrations, was questioned by investigators. When the connection between Belanglo murders and the Onions experience was made, Onions flew to Australia to help with the investigation. On the 5th of May, 1994, Onions positively identified Milat as the man who had picked him up and attempted to assault him.
Milat was arrested at his home on the 22nd of May, 1994, on robbery and weapon charges related to the Onions attack, after 50 police officers surrounded the premises, including heavily armed officers from the Tactical Operations Unit. The search of Milat's home revealed various weapons, including a .22 caliber Anschutz Model 1441/42 rifle and parts of a .22 caliber Ruger 1022 rifle that matched the type used in the murders, a Browning pistol, and a Bowie knife. Also uncovered was foreign currency, which in and of itself doesn't cause any problems, clothing, a tent, sleeping bags, camping equipment, and cameras belonging to several of his victims. Homes belonging to his mother and 5 of his brothers were also searched at the same time by over 300 police, uncovering a total of 24 weapons, 250 kilograms of ammunition, and several more items belonging to the victims.
Milat appeared in court on the 23rd of May, but he did not enter a plea. On the 31st of May, Milat was also charged with the 7 backpacker murders. On the 28th of June, Milat sacked his defense lawyer, Marsden, and sought legal aid to pay for his defense. Meanwhile, brothers Richard and Walter were tried in relation to weapons, drugs, and stolen items found on their properties. A committal hearing for Milat regarding the murders began on the 24th of October and lasted until 12th of December, during which over 200 witnesses appeared. Based on the evidence, at the beginning of the February of 1995, Milat was reprimanded in custody until June of that same year.
On the 26th of March 1996, the trial opened at the New South Wales Supreme Court. Milat's defense argued that, in spite of the evidence, there was no direct evidence that Milat was guilty, and attempted to shift the blame to other members of his family, particularly Richard. 145 witnesses took the stand, including members of the Milat family who endeavored to provide alibis, and Milat himself. On the 27th of June, after 18 weeks of testimony, a jury found Milat guilty of the murders. He was given a life sentence on each count without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of the attempted murder, false imprisonment, and robbery of Mr. Onions, for which he received 6 years jail term each. On his first day, when arriving at Maitland Jail, Milat was beaten by another inmate. Almost a year later, on the 16th of May 1997, he made an escape attempt alongside convicted drug dealer and former city councillor George Savas. The plan failed, and Savas was found hanged in his cell the next day, and Milat was transferred to the maximum security section at Goulburn Correctional Centre in Goulburn, New South Wales.
In November of 1997, Milat appealed against his convictions due to a breach of his common law right to legal representation. However, the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeals dismissed the appeal. In 2004, Milat filed an application with the High Court of Australia that he be allowed special leave to appeal on new grounds. The application for leave was ultimately dismissed, affirming the Court of Criminal Appeals' decision to disallow his initial appeal. On the 27th of October 2005, in the New South Wales Supreme Court, Milat's final avenue of appeal was refused. In 2006, 2 other application attempts were rejected as well as one in November of 2011.
In 2001, Milat was transferred from the maximum security section of the prison into one of its 45 new units. In 2006, a toaster and a TV given to Milat in his cell caused a public outcry. In January 2009, Milat cut off his little finger with a plastic knife, with the intention of mailing it to the High Court of Australia to force an appeal. He was taken to Goulburn Base Hospital under high security. However, on the 27th of January, Milat was returned to prison after doctors decided surgery was not possible. Milat had previously harmed himself in 2001 when he swallowed razor blades, staples, and other metal objects. In May 2011, Milat went on a 9-day hunger strike, losing 15 kilograms in an unsuccessful attempt to be given a PlayStation.
In May of 2019, Milat was transferred to the Prince of Wales Hospital, Randwick, and was subsequently diagnosed with terminal esophageal cancer. Following his treatment, he was transferred to the Long Bay Correctional Centre to continue his custodial sentences. On 9th of August 2019, a terminally ill Milat was moved to a secure treatment unit located in the Prince of Wales Hospital, following the loss of 20 kilos of previous weeks. Milat was also exhibiting a high temperature. His status, however, was reported as not life-threatening. On the 27th of October of 2019, though, Milat died from esophageal and stomach cancer at 4:07 a.m. within the hospital wing at Long Bay Correctional Centre. He was 74 years old. Prior to his death, Milat wrote a letter to his family requesting that his funeral be paid for by the New South Wales government. The request was denied by the New South Wales Corrections Minister, Anthony Roberts. Instead, Milat's body was cremated, with the full reimbursement of costs to be paid from his prison account.
Thanks for watching. We hope you found this to be both entertaining and informative. If you have any suggestions for topics, please let us know in the comments down below. We'll do our best to accommodate your wishes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the notification button. It's just a few clicks for you, but it means a lot for us. You can also help the channel by becoming a patron. Click the link in the description if this is a way you can support us. Any help you give our channel is greatly appreciated. See you next time.